Hi, everyone. I'm Caleb,
I'm Cyberpunk Monk.
and we're here to introduce a new challenge to the Halo community, LASON. LASO has been a time tested challenge and has been quite difficult, but there is now an opportunity to test your mettle against something even harder. In 2019, in January, there was an update that added new skulls to Halo Combat Evolved, and in April of 2022, they added new skulls to 2, 3, and ODST. And with these new skulls, a new legendary All Skulls on LASON was born. We've spent the past month being the world's first to complete Halo CE, Halo 3, and Halo ODST. And let me tell you something, they are pretty tough. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's a different experience. It's rough. Sometimes it feels less like playing Halo and more like breaking an engine.
That's right. I think especially when it came to CE at times. There was
Yeah.
even a skull that was messing with some levels in ODST. But we didn't do, as you may have noticed, Halo 2. We wanted to leave that open for the community, somebody else to try to get world's first on Halo 2 LASON. In the description, there is a link to a Google Doc that shows you all the skulls you need enabled, which ones are the old ones for LASO, which ones are the new ones for LASON. The way I determined the skulls was a skull was omitted if it was never used, if it was never used with any MCC LASO before. So things like bandana, you're not going to see, or pinata, just because they were never used. But if it was used in a LASO before, it's in there. And it can make for some interesting experiences. Let's give them some examples. What would you say was a skull that made a big difference in ODST?
In ODST, I think the skull that made the biggest difference is probably Boom. And
Mm,
I mean, you could tell right out of the gate, trying to get past the grunts, just between that and having the whatever it is that increases the amount of grenades that are thrown catch. I'm like 90% sure. I should really
yeah,
know that
it
by
is
now.
catch.
It's so overwhelming and nowhere is safe.
Hmm.
And it seems like that's a pretty consistent experience throughout.
That's right. And add on to that the fact that in ODST, think of how many explodable objects there are, destructible objects, cars lying around. That like explosions never stop in ODST. It feels to
Hmm.
me like catch is the strongest in ODST too. There's actually
Mm.
two levels that Boom kind of make weird, and you can omit Boom for these two levels. That's Data Hive and Coastal Highway. It is possible. We did it with Boom on. It took us a little bit longer, so we had to figure out what was going on, how was Boom was ruining things. Data Hive, explosions would knock Virgil up into the cavern ceiling, and he would never come back down. So we had to manage there perfectly, where we survived, and in the same fashion, after drawing all that fire, still didn't draw enough fire to die, but draw enough fire that Virgil didn't explode up to there. And then in Coastal Highway, for whatever reason, when Veronica and Virgil get out of the Oliphant, for whatever reason, because of Boom, it just killed him. Just killed him for no reason. We tried to get the tank in position. Once we stopped doing that, it stopped exploding. So maybe that's the ticket. But so you can omit them for that level. But if you want to try, we did it, and it's a bit of a challenge. What would you say
When
is? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna mention when we mentioned earlier that like Halo CE kind of felt like making this like less like playing a first-person shooter and more like breaking an engine.
Hmm.
Data Hive, especially with the way that we learned that because our consistent issue is Virgil just wasn't able to get with us and the
Hmm.
game would never progress. And the way that we explored what all was happening and what we could do to change what was happening was probably the most scientific I've ever been with Halo.
It was a fun little puzzle, is what it was.
It was an interesting physics puzzle. I wasn't expecting that in my first-person Halo game.
Yeah, Half-Life would be proud.
Yeah.
What would you
Next we'll
say?
have Portal.
What would you say would be a skull that made a big difference in Halo 3?
Halo 3, that's easily foreign.
Mm.
Normally I would say it's whatever's making ammo less abundant, your
Recession.
famines or your recessions.
Hmm.
However, that wouldn't be a problem if you could just pick up a weapon that was on the ground.
Mm.
And we have one caveat to this. We played in co-op where we had you as the Master Chief and me as Arby, and
Yes.
Arbiter can pick up Covenant weapons. So we were still able to pick things off pretty surgically, but it was usually I'll charge up the plasma pistol shot to take out the grunt, and you'll use your pistol to hit him in the head a few times, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I actually think that's a really cool way to implement foreign, since it was new to that one. We've only ever seen foreign in CE where you didn't have a covenant playable. It's pretty cool. What would you say was a skull that made a big difference in CE?
In CE, that
Mm-hmm.
is just wrong. There are so many points in this game where the premise that I kept on hearing is, oh, we're just gonna hang back deep in this hallway and we're gonna let them fight for a while, and it's not gonna, and then like 20 of them would just start coming through a hallway. It's like, well, we're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to find out how to deal with that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes it was attrition. Sometimes we'd find a trick or get clever with grenades, or grunts. Grunts, I think, killed a lot more Covenant than even we killed in this campaign.
That might be true. We even explored and came up with our own tricks and strategies, brand new things I'd never heard anyone else discover, using like loading zones and things to get through, because some tools just we couldn't use anymore, especially in Truth and Reconciliation. There's like, cloaks just doesn't work with That's Just Wrong. Not that it kind of doesn't work or mostly doesn't work. It doesn't work, period. And so you can't use cloak to skip the third section. So we used Sputnik, which is a new skull, to grenade jump to a certain area to bypass a load zone. And then in the belly, we could not pull off the belly skip. But first off, we couldn't pull off the normal wait in the corner because That's Just Wrong. The zealots decide we know where you are and we're coming after you. And one time we had 9 zealots. I mean,
You
good
know
luck
what's not
having
fun?
enough ammo for the rest of the mission when you're wasting it all on 9 zealots.
Right. Your best case scenario with 2 people there is you got 2 consistent headshots. They'll go down with 3, but I'll tell you now, when you got a couple of them running and things are exploding like crazy, you're not going to get those headshots.
Yeah,
Uh,
often we
even
were
with
using 4
perfect,
bullets.
even with perfect backpack reloading, even with scattering with grenades, it was just we were getting overwhelmed consistently.
It's tough. And you can't use the belly skip because your ally cannot hide. He's going to get hunted down. And now he has to fight 9 zealots by himself. So you
I
just
tried.
have to do it. You have to
I
be
tried.
real good. Usually you can then grab that cloak and just walk past the next area, get to the big hangar. Nope, cloak doesn't work. You have to fight your way through there. There's no guides out there on how to do that. You got to figure it out yourself. It made a huge difference. I was surprised how much difference it made. It also meant that every jackal's always facing you. You never surprise them. You never surprise anybody. Everyone knows
What
where you are at all times.
what's the skull that makes it so the jackals don't flinch?
Ghost.
Honorable mention Ghost for all of these.
Hmm.
And only for jackals. Not being able to stun jackals when you shoot them sucks.
You know what also was weird? The first thing we ever discovered was anger. In CE on Legendary, anything with a plasma pistol shoots it so fast, it's like a plasma turret. And they'll just rinse you. And if with That's Just Wrong, they always see you first, they always shoot first. They will light you up and you'll be dead in a second. Anger's really tough on CE. It makes a huge difference.
The very first time we tried CE, like we weren't even recording, we were just like testing the waters, putting our feet in.
Hmm.
The very first fight with those grunts, we were like, how are we gonna get past this? And the answer is get good.
That's
It
true.
sure did put us through the meat grinder. It told us what's acceptable and what's not on a LASON run.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It was tough. I'll tell you, CE on Layson to me was harder than 2 on Lasso. 2 on Layson, for those of you who want to try to get worlds first or just do it for fun, you're actually, I think 2 Layson might be easier than 2 Lasso because you now get Grunt Funeral Party, or just Grunt Funeral. That might help you clear out some enemies, but you also do get Recession, so half your bullets is going to really bite you there. So I think it's a give and take, but I'll be really interested to see a Layson run on Halo 2. And if
And
a
we
whole... Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say we're inviting you, the community, to also try in this fun experience that we sort of open the doors for you to do.
That's right.
If you like playing Halo and you're not afraid to try playing Halo in a different way than you already have, this certainly does scratch that itch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you don't want to do a whole campaign, if you want to try just a single challenge, I would invite you to do Sierra 117 and Halo 3 solo, so that foreign really affects you. I just don't know how you get through that without enough ammo. And that'd be really impressive if I saw anyone do that. And anyone just doing truth and reconciliation, we easily spent 18 plus hours of our time on that, on attempts, on trying to learn tricks, on practicing. It was a tough level. So anyone who can do that level, you know, that's a real challenge.
I want to see how you do it. I'm really interested in seeing the stories of success that come from other people trying this. I want to see what other people come up with, like as far as strategies to overcome tricky parts.
Yeah. So if you do accomplish any of these things, DM me a link to your playlist or your video, and I will throw it up on this document for everyone to see. And I hope you all have fun with this new legendary All Skulls On LASON.